Hey guys, welcome to the Marissa Effect, the podcast where real talk meets deep connection. I'm your host, Marissa, and around here we are all about honest conversations, fresh perspectives, and living a life that feels aligned, inspired, and unapologetically you. Whether we are diving into relationships, wellness, or those aha moments that shift everything in life, this is your space to grow, laugh, and feel seen. I'm so happy you guys are all here with me, so let's go ahead and get into it. Hey guys, welcome back to the Marissa Effect. This week, I finally have Dr. Kim on the episode, or on the podcast rather. For those of you who don't know Dr. Kim, she's a functional wellness doctor. I myself see her. I know some of you who may be listening are patients of her as well. So this conversation is going to be totally different than what I've had so far. We're going to get all down in the nitty and gritty of the functional wellness life and things that you may or may not know. So I'm super excited about that. And we're just going to dive right into it. So welcome, Dr. Kim. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Marissa. I'm honored actually. This is really fun and it's fun for me to see you doing this, so I'm excited. Yeah.
I'm super excited. So I just to share quickly about how I met Dr. Kim, my friend Sam was coming in my office. I'm a school counselor, so we were coworkers at the time, and she was coming in my office telling me symptoms that she was having, and then she was sharing with me that she wanted to see a functional wellness doctor. And I was like, I that sounds cool, but also sounds I don't know, like something that I don't know enough about, you know what I mean? And a lot of it was like fear because it's not often covered with your healthcare insurance. So I'm like, okay, you go and let me know, and you do the research and find somebody. So, so
You,
she found you.
you
I forget the story of how she found you, but then it just started to grow and expand. Then, as I was talking about her going and then my interest in going, I started connecting with other people in my life in my fitness world. They were like, I already go and see her. You need to go and see her. I'm like, oh, okay. So finally I joined and it's changed my life, honestly, because before I was a patient of yours, I was spiraling out of control. I was not managing what I was eating. I was working out and taking naps and exhausted for the rest of the day. I was all over the joint. And then when we did my blood work and did some other testing, we got clear on like what supplements were good. And it just has helped me. Like I've seen the benefits. And maybe some people over supplement or they're not supplementing where they need. I just feel like finally I'm taking supplements that are benefiting my life. And I'm using products that I believe in too, which is really important. I do kind of want to talk about that at some point in this
yeah.
podcast. So anyway, I want if you can just explain some background, how you got into this, what inspired you.
So my background, in college, I was a English literature major, but I minored in Asian studies. And so when the classes that I would take that weren't towards my English degree, I really sort of delved into all things Asian studies, Eastern religion, Eastern philosophy. And what struck me about that and what was so intriguing to me was this deep appreciation in all of those philosophies, even though they're different, Buddhism, Taoism, Confucianism, Hinduism, um, even though difference in like the dogma maybe, there was a deep understanding that we're part of nature. Like we are just another part of the natural world, and that the closer that we lived according to the principles of the natural world, the healthier we would be, the happier we would be, the more vibrant we would be. And so that was like something that resonated with me very young. And so I definitely incorporated some of those practices in my life, but never really knowing that there was like a direction to go with that. And then when I was in my early mid 30s, I got into a bicycle accident. I was a cyclist and triathlete, and I got hit by a car and broke both of my arms and like broke my bones in my face. I broke my knee. And I was like really in a place where I didn't really know what to do. I knew that I didn't want to, um, I wanted to heal, and I also wanted to heal naturally. And I ended up going to an acupuncturist and Chinese medicine practitioner in the midst of that. And that got me really intrigued because I got better. Like, I mean, it was, it wasn't magic. It was like I went and, my bones healed and my face healed and my skin healed. And I really started to pay really close attention to what I was putting in my body and what I was, my rest and things like that. And then it occurred to me that, wow, this is so aligned with how I think about, how we should be focusing on root cause and healing the body. And then I found out that you could actually go to school and be an acupuncturist. And I was like, oh. So when my daughter started high school, this was kind of right around that time, I went back to school to get my master's in Chinese medicine. And I think I started at the end of her freshman year. And so I graduated with a degree in Chinese medicine at the same time she was graduating high school.
Mhm.
Um, she went to college, and then I went to China and did an internship for a few months, and then came back and opened my practice. And the interesting thing about Chinese medicine is that it led me into more of a functional medicine approach. Like, we didn't call it functional medicine, but the foundation of Chinese medicine is function, is root cause. Like, we have to look at what's happening in the whole body, the totality of your experience, your life experience, how
Mhm.
you move, how you eat, how you think, who you're around, what are your habits, and that is going to determine your health. And so once I was in practice, I started studying like what we call now, 20 years later, functional medicine, which really gives me the ability to look deeper into people's health. So it's Chinese medicine is probably that, and Ayurvedic medicine is very much the original functional medicines, because it was never about like treating the symptom. It was always about like looking at the root cause, and let's come into why the body is in either imbalance or out of balance. And so, in 2025 now, we have lots of ways to sort of look under the hood, so to speak. And we have much more ability through testing and functional testing to really look at some of the things that people don't have answers for. They go to the doctor and they get their blood work, and as long as it falls within the parameter of the norms, the doctor's like, no, nothing's wrong. You're fine. It's just aging, or it's just this. And we get to look and see really like what is happening, from a root cause perspective. And that sort of morphed into a more functional medicine, as what we call functional medicine. I really do like to look at it more as a personalized lifestyle medicine, because so much of what is going to determine our health has to do with our lifestyle. I had a patient come in yesterday, a gentleman,
Mhm.
which is great because more and more men are coming in to optimize their health. And I'm looking through blood work and some tests, and I said, the good news is that this is mostly lifestyle. These are things that we can do through actionable steps to
Mhm.
correct. Like, at this point, there is no dreaded disease. It's, everything is, you're not optimal, but it's so fixable, which
Mhm.
is beautiful to know that we have the ability to change our health. It's in our hands, with some guidance.
Yeah. Wow. And these are things that you even share with me, like things are in your reach to fix just lifestyle change. But I do feel like for a lot of people, lifestyle change is really, really hard, especially if they've been living this way for decades and decades.
For sure.
Right.
I mean, part of it is, right? So, like, when we think about like, how we feed ourselves, how we move our body. Um, those are often things that we have just habitually gotten into really good habits or really bad habits. um, just the way that we have to live our life today is so much more, we're so much more in the sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight or flight nervous system. And our bodies are not designed for that. Our bodies are designed to have moments of stress, but have mostly parasympathetic, rest and digest, calm times. And, we live, I tell my patients this, I'm like, 100 years ago, 60% of us didn't even have electricity. Like, we went to bed when the sun went down. Like, I think it was 1942 before really everyone had electricity,
Yeah.
right? So never mind, did we not have phones and radios and cell phones and cars and those things. Like, we went to bed, we had quiet time, we moved our bodies because it was the only way we could get places.
Yeah.
Um, we are, we're kind of in this, fast-paced, very high stress life that our body is only just trying to keep up with. And so, sure, there's the changes of like, eat this, don't eat this, try to limit this. Um, we are even more than that. It's like, how do we get to a place where our body feels calm? Because a body, in order for a body to heal and to self-regulate and self-correct, it has to have time where it feels safe and quiet and so a lot of those lifestyle things, we can't change the fact that people have to get up at 5:30 in the morning to get to work and they have to get their kids ready and then they are caring for parents and then they get home and you got to cook dinner and
Yeah.
uh, but we have to try to find little nuances and little places where we can make those small changes that wind up having remarkable, outcomes.
I agree. I agree. And there's that book, The Body Keeps the Score. Have you ever read it?
Yes.
It's crazy. And actually, my sister had to read it in nursing school, so I'm kind of happy that these programs are integrating it in their curriculums now.
Yeah.
But I do believe our bodies they're like sponges to what we're experiencing. And if you don't come down and or allow yourself to come down, a lot of people don't even know what to do to calm down. It's such a foreign concept to them. And
Yeah, we're not to interrupt, but like we as like Americans, we have this idea of we're exceptional. Like we they kind of call it like American exceptionalism. And we have this drive that obviously, got us from a new country, 250 years ago, say, to now. And we haven't really lost that we have to be doing, doing, doing. We have to be achieving and moving the needle forward and moving the needle up. And we don't allow for that downtime of like, well, we can't always be doing, the body wasn't designed for that. It was designed really for like 10 hours of sleep, and then we forage for food and then we come back and and we rest and then we eat and, you go to Europe, you take 2-hour lunches,
yeah.
we give kids in school less than 20 minutes,
Mhm.
for lunch. So it is really challenging to even know, like, if I'm not getting something done, am I still a productive human? The whole human be doing instead of a human being. And we have to reteach ourselves because somewhere in the last 100 years, we've really lost that ability to just be and know that that's enough. And that not only does your body want it, your body needs it.
Mhm.
Diseases of stress are real. Like, stress isn't an idea or it's actually a physiological response in the body, and it breaks everything down, at a faster degree. So aging accelerates when we're not resting. Um, and that is something that I think we have to reteach ourselves and reteach our kids. Um, we don't even forget that we don't like ourselves to be like not doing things. We don't even let our children not do things.
It's so true. And I think because I don't even think I think I know the social media world, the internet world, it doesn't even allow your brain to calm down. So even if you are in a restful state, like physically laying in your bed, your brain is actively
Yeah,
working because you have a screen in front of
you're
you.
scrolling.
hmm
Yeah.
And that alone is causing emotion in your body, depending on what the heck you're listening to. So you are still in fight or flight. You're still not truly at a resting stage. And that's when the healing comes, when you're calm.
It's the only time it comes is when we're calm. That's when the body cortisol lowers, the immune system is present now and able to do what it does. And, as I tell my patients, the immune system is not just fighting off colds, flus, viruses, parasites. The immune system is what repairs your muscles. The
hmm
immune system is what cleans up your brain, at the end of the day when we're sleeping. The immune system is what will heal the cut that you get or heal the broken bone or the sprained ankle. It's everything, and it does not operate if we are in a cortisol driven state, so that's such an important piece that can be really challenging.
For sure, for sure. You've helped one of my friends. She had was diagnosed with a, a cancer diagnosis, and you helped her. So one of my questions for you was, how do you blend Western labs with Eastern techniques? Because you really did blend both of those modalities, and I do believe it helped her healing process that much faster.
So that is a great question, and I know your friend. I adore her. She's great. Um, so I was very fortunate that when I first started in practice, within the first year, I was invited to be one of the founders of the acupuncture department of the Sari Asher Integrated Cancer Center. And it really, I had quite a few boundaries around that because it was a Western, it was through the Florida Cancer Institute or Florida Cancer Specialist at the time. Um, or was Palm Beach Cancer Institute. And so they were not that familiar with the holistic approach, a multi-practitioner approach. But they were open to it because other cancer centers do the same. And so I had to really sort of find my path in that so that I wasn't stepping on anyone's toes and I wasn't doing things that were unfamiliar to the doctors or that they didn't know about. And I did that for a lot of like 9 years. So I got to see just how well supporting the human body while patients go through traditional cancer treatment, how well it worked and how much better the outcomes were. And so it wasn't interfering with their actual treatments through their oncologists, but it supported the body so that the rest of the body that wasn't being targeted with chemotherapy could stay strong.
Mm,
And so when I was in China, I did one of the rotations that I did was in oncology. And they used chemotherapy, but they also were making herbal formulas for the patients in the hospital. They
mhm,
were utilizing acupuncture, they were utilizing food as medicine, they were utilizing well, they're herbs more than supplements, but I got to see how well that model worked so that we could, what I tell my patients who are either going through cancer or have maybe have survived cancer, is we want to keep the body of you as healthy and strong as possible while you go through your protocols and treatments. And you can do that. know, because I mean, chemotherapy, you know, is is powerful. Um, and it's often really effective.
Right.
Unfortunately, the aftermath can be really rough, you know. And so my focus is always, how do I help my patients stay as strong as possible to, number one, keep on their protocol and
Hmm.
not have to come off of it. And then when their treatments are finished, that they are as whole as as possible.
Hmm. Yeah, and I found that it just because I was so close with her, but it complemented the treatment well. I believe it helped tremendously. Like, and the keep it just she went through it so fast, and I think that's why.
Yeah.
It also keeps your mind kind of in a stronger place too.
Oh, you know, I do think that when we feel that we have some say and we have some autonomy and we have the 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 wherewithal to get through it, and we believe that, and we have a team of people, you know, and it doesn't take away from the other team. It's like everybody has a role. And one of the analogies we used to make, which is like it's a fighting analogy, but like when people are going through cancer treatment and they're going in for their surgery, their radiation, their chemotherapy, and they're in the ring.
Hmm.
Like I always felt like, you know, you're in the ring and you do your rounds, and they call them rounds, and you come out to the corners. Like you want your corner people. And they are going to, like, you know, what do? They staple up the eyebrow, you know, if it's bleeding from the boxing, or the corner people are there to re-strengthen you, you know, and to give you what you need to go back into that ring, so that at the end of it, like we all have one goal, and that patient is cancer free, you know. And I think it takes, you know, it takes a village, as they say, but like having that corner team, you know. And if I, you know, for me, I've been in that corner with people, and really it's about like giving you what you need so that you can go back out. And then also for when the rounds are over and the match is over, that you're still standing.
Yes, 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 totally. Another big question, and this it affects me personally, but is hormones. All we hear nowadays is hormones, hormones, hormones. I feel like everybody in the world has a hormone imbalance. I mean, I'm sure I'm wrong, but it's just,
I
but
don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're wrong. Um, yeah. Do
so
you
what
want to?
are some common, yeah, kind of, if you want.
So here's, you know, it touches a little bit on what we just talked about. So, you know, again, for women, it's a particularly poignant subject because, you know, women are XX chromosomes, men are XY chromosomes, right? So X chromosomes have 1,098 genes or 1,078 genes, not exact, but in the thousands.
Mhm.
Y chromosomes have 78 to 90 genes. So not that, I mean, they're important. We love men. They're
Yeah.
great. Um, but we have over 1,000 more genes because there is not one system in our body, from our brain to our toes, our musculoskeletal system, our bones, our cardiovascular system, our digestive system, our endocrine system, our lymphatic system, our neurological system. Every part of us is designed to be having receptors for hormones. That's why we have those genes, because we, you know, even if we haven't procreated, we are made to do that. So every part of our body is made to respond to hormones.
Hmm.
And so that's great, except we our body is really always kind of weighing out like stress hormones or sex hormones.
Hmm.
And the body will always preferentially make stress hormones because the first thing it wants to do is live. So if the body is stressed, and most bodies are stressed, then our the body will like divide out those raw materials and we'll be making more adrenaline, more epinephrine, more cortisol, more norepinephrine. It's going to make more stress hormones, and it's going to make those stress hormones at the expense of sex hormones. And the other thing that happens is that as we get it later, like you're still very young, but when you get into your 40s, your mid 40s, your later 40s, your early 50s, and we go through that perimenopausal menopause sort of shifting,
Mm-hmm.
the thing that's supposed to take over for us, the way this infinite design was in our body, there was no mistakes. We were supposed to stop menstruating. We were supposed to go through menopause. But we were supposed to have these things that were our backup, like the backup generator, and those were our adrenal glands. And our adrenal glands were not really supposed to be used a lot. Like maybe once in a while, run from a bear, maybe once in a while, like, the house is on fire.
Right.
The adrenal glands were supposed to kind of be the source of our hormones post, like from late perimenopause into menopause. Our adrenal glands make DHEA. DHEA then becomes testosterone and estrogen and progesterone and pregnenolone. Like those are all supposed to be coming from our adrenal glands. But what's happened is people are getting into their 30s, really early 30s, mid 30s, late 30s, and their adrenals are tanked. We
Mm.
call it like hypocortisolemia. Like their adrenals have been so overstressed already before they're even in the big game, which is to give us our hormones later.
Right.
So we find ourselves very much deficient in what we need to keep up with the life that we're living. If if I had to make another analogy, which I will, is like we are in a life that is very similar to the Indy 500, and we're in like a Chevy Nova instead of a Lamborghini,
Uh,
like we are now suddenly faced with the fact that we are utilizing too much stress hormone at the expense of our sex hormones, and our whole body runs on those sex hormones and having them in balance. Progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, DHEA, like those hormones are supposed to be in this beautiful synchronistic, like moving orchestra every month, month in, month out, year in, year out. And what we find is that people are deficient really young, and their lives are requiring more and more of their stress hormones.
and
So
is this really because of like environmental or what we're eating, internet? Like, why do you think this is?
I think that like culturally, we went from like 0 to 60 in such a fast time that, I was saying to my daughter the other day, like when so my daughter's 36.
Mhm.
When I so it's not that like it's long. Like
Mhm.
she's my age now, which is great, But so when I was at the beach with her when she was like 4 years old, say, it was just me and her at the beach. Like there was no phone, there was no like radio. I wasn't on a smartphone. I didn't have to answer my emails. I didn't have to like I was in a moment. Like I was in that moment. I was nowhere else.
Yeah.
And that was life for a lot of times. If you went on vacation, like you were on vacation. You weren't plugged in. Nobody needed you. There was no instant where like, oh my God, I really have to answer that email, but like I'm out on the trail. Like, how do I even know that I have it? Because my watch told me, my phone told me.
Mhm.
Um, I think that's a big piece of it. I think that children were like I remember, raising my daughter, and there was so much anxiety about where kids were going to go to college and is it going to be okay? And I remember thinking like, whoa, like I never thought
Dog.
about that in my short,
Yeah.
like I'm older, but like not 100 years older. Like you didn't stress in sixth grade about where you were going to go to college.
Yeah.
Um, you certainly, even when you were in high school, you're just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go, you fill out your things. Nobody was like freaking out. Um, so I think kids have been under stress, like kids who are now in their 20s, who are now in their 30s. I think that we poisoned the world, we poisoned our water, we kind of plastic was great. We heated up with it. We put antibiotics in our livestock so that they grew more. So like they don't put hormones in our meat, but they do use a lot of antibiotics, and antibiotics are super endocrine disruptors.
Mm,
Um, and then the other thing, although I am 1,050% for, controlling our own, as women, our own, fertility,
right.
birth control pills have been really, really tough, on a woman's hormones, because a lot of times, and what I've seen and what I see in my practice is that girls were put on birth control because either their periods were painful or they had acne, or their periods were irregular for the most part when they were teenagers. And I always ask my patients, like, were you on birth, you went on birth control at 17 or 18. Was that for birth control or was that for, other things? And I would say 80% of the time it was for other things. It was for symptom relief of some symptom.
Like painful cramps and stuff like that.
Painful, really painful periods, heavy periods, irregular periods, acne is a big one. And now what's happened is like, and again, not against birth control, but I think there needs to be more informed consent because what happens is like at 17 years old, when your hormones aren't even fully, like your adrenals aren't fully like actioning, your hormones aren't fully in balance yet, we just shut off the signal, and now, you
Uh,
know, 10 years later, 20 years later, 15 years later, for some people, you've really kind of shut down a whole system
um,
that is
yeah.
how we run. And then nobody's really looking at like some of the downstream side effects, like birth control, we know contributes to vitamin deficiencies. Those vitamin, then the ones that they're um they're most related to are ones that we need for our neurotransmitters, for serotonin and for GABA and things that make us feel good and make sure that we don't, have depression and anxiety. We know that birth control affects the lining of the gut. So, half my patients have leaky guts,
Yeah. That's
which,
big too.
it's a really big deal. And again, I'm not anti birth control. I do think that we need to use it more judiciously and we have to give informed consent. And one of the issues is that when girls, young ladies, are having problems hormonally with their periods, that's a check engine light. That's a time where I had a 14-year-old patient today who we just went over her Dutch test. She's was having extremely painful periods, like she would get nauseous. Her mom, when her mom was like that when she was little and they put her on the pill and now, her mom's now like 45 and
Yeah.
now she's got a host of other things. So her mom didn't want to put her on the pill. That was the only suggestion. It is the only suggestion that you get at the gynecologist.
It is
So
like I witnessed that and I was like, there has to be something else, and there's nothing they offer.
and honestly, it's not for lack of wanting to, but there is literally nothing.
No.
They don't dig in that direction of like, well, let's look at your hormones. Let's look at your metabolism and your detoxification pathways and look at why are you having painful periods,
Right.
and what is happening sort of underneath that. And like with this 14-year-old, like it was mostly like lifestyle, like eating,
Or
like changing a little bit of the diet and not like saying, oh, you can't eat those things. You're 14, you're gonna eat Doritos probably, right? But more of like, okay, we've got to make sure we get these in. your hormones are out of balance, which is okay because you're 14 and that's pretty normal. But here are the things that we need to incorporate so that your hormones get more in balance, and inflammation comes down. And um, looking at it at a younger age, like, is so much better because at some point those issues are going to resurface. And now we see, it's resurfacing when women are in their 30s and now they're trying to get pregnant, or they're having
You-
lots of issues.
Infertility because of people who were on birth control?
Um, I think that it is playing a role,
Mhm.
right? Because I don't know like statistically, but what I would say is that I think I've had maybe 1 in 25 women who haven't been on birth control. And usually they were on it, um, from the time they were teenagers, sometimes young, sometimes literally out of the gate, sort of 14. And now they're in their 30s or late 20s, early 30s. They've already been on it 10 years. And I think that, obviously it's not news to anyone that we have a fertility problem.
Yeah,
I don't think it's one single thing, but I think it's a multi-layered problem. And I think birth control is a
correct.
piece of it. I
Mhm.
think that the idea that women can be on synthetic hormones indefinitely or as long as they want is probably not a good idea.
Yeah, like
You know,
some of those IUDs are like 7 years.
they are 7 years now.
Nobody's checking on them, really.
Yeah, and the thing is that, for long term, yes, like say progesterone forward IUD, it still has a little estrogen in it. We
Yeah,
still we're but you're shutting off your signaling and you're shutting off that sort of cycle that your body needs. It's not an Nothing about us was made haphazardly, right? Everything was supposed to be in this almost like a lunar cycle. And for women, that's how a lot of our health is maintained, is through the different fluctuations in our hormones. And when we are on any kind of birth control pill or IUD, we've taken those natural cycles and we've stopped them. You're not, even if you're bleeding, you're not getting necessarily a period. You're getting a bleed.
right.
That does not mean that you've had an actual cycle.
So the people who were on birth control for a long time, then come off, some people get pregnant right away, and then others, don't. But would you say that I don't know how to ask this questions really, but like, do you lose your egg? Do you lose your eggs while you're on birth control? I
No,
know it sounds dumb. Oh,
no,
you don't?
not for the most part. Most of the time when people are on birth control, they're not going to ovulate.
Okay.
So there is sort of a sweet spot. I mean, scientifically, I've read some studies that, 5 years of being on birth control could actually be protective from a fertility standpoint, because you kind of gave yourself some years where you weren't um you weren't releasing an egg.
Okay.
So there is some science that says that that could actually be beneficial. Now, whether that's with a birth control pill or a IUD, if I had my, again, like I don't prescribe, so it's just myself and my patient having a conversation. If we were having a conversation, I would always prefer that they were on an IUD versus a birth control pill.
Oh,
Uh,
interesting. But you're going to say the opposite.
Yeah, no, actually, because first of all, it is less systemic, you
Okay.
know, it has to go through less of the detox pathways.
Okay.
And it usually is a lower dose. And
Okay.
it's usually sort of progesterone forward. Most are, not all.
Mhm.
And, you know, again, we have to be, as women, like we should have full rights to deciding when we don't have children. So I fully support, using birth control of some sort. And
Hmm.
again, when birth control pills first came out, they were, that was like when I was young, it was like
Yeah.
have anything before then, really, like a diaphragm, and nobody was bringing a diaphragm out in the 80s. It just wasn't really happening. Whatever. It was different times.
Yes.
But so it was like, yeah, this we want to be able to make these decisions for ourselves. But I think that we didn't get enough information. I still think we don't. You know,
Right.
I have women who are 52 who they've been on birth control for 35, 40 years.
Oh, I have a coworker that doesn't want to come off of it, but then she also heard something that like it lessens your chances of getting breast cancer. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much out there. Like, there's just so much out there, whether it's true or not. It's just it's being fed to us, you know?
Hormones right now are sort of the Wild West.
Yeah.
And what I would say, there are some really good resources. In my practice, I do focus a lot on women's health and hormones. And for me, doing a Dutch test, doing a dried urine test is I think one of the best things that women can do because whether they're taking hormones, either um, birth control pill or synthetic, or bioidentical hormones, of which we just call hormone replacement therapy now, because 99.9% of them are bioidentical. Um, or they're still making hormones. So whether we're taking them or making them, we want to know what our body does with them because that is where the sort of the rubber meets the road.
And that's
Like,
like what the Dutch test will
yes,
give you, that type of information.
yeah, it gives you the information of like, what am I making or taking?
Hmm.
But what do I do with them? Do I do healthy, pro-health things, like very protective things, or are my pathways impaired and they're gonna be problematic later on? Like, I know for certain that if one of my patients comes in and she's like, "Yeah, my mom had fibroids. I have fibroids." I know that estrogen detoxification is impaired, because we don't grow things if we clear estrogen out of the body nicely. We make it, we use it, we transform it into a substance that we can then get it out of the body. But for some people, somewhat from how inflamed they are, or genetically how well they detox, or what they're exposed to, if they have, mold or candida or gut dysbiosis, they might not clear their hormones. And so then they're recycling and they're growing things. So I think for women, you know, it is our time to really know more about our body and not just take the word of, like, well, that's just the way it is, or you're just getting
I can't
older.
stand that. I hate it when people are like, I think that's just normal. And like, there's nothing normal about the way I feel.
Yeah,
But we are normalizing it, and it's a shame because it's
yeah.
super uncomfortable. It doesn't have to be.
And I think that this is one of the marvelous things about these times, and even like with podcasts that you're doing, is like we can start to understand our bodies more. And when we understand our bodies and when we understand how our unique individual physiology works, we can start to make decisions and that support our health.
Mm-hmm.
Because also, what's good for me is just good for me.
Hmm.
And there is no one size fits all.
No.
The individuality of all of us, I think, has to be recognized. And, that is where I think, it's what I really love also about functional medicine and medicine testing is that we can really look at the individual and come up with a plan that's tailored to what is actually happening with that person, and not just sort of blanket, like everybody needs this and everybody needs this and do this.
Hmm.
Um, and I think in the world of women's health, especially, it's the time
Hmm.
because there's more attention and we can talk about it. And we can advocate for women and advocate for ourselves as women.
Yeah, yeah. It is crazy. So what about you recommended, I asked though, for supplements for women who are past 30. Well, I am 35 now. So for supplements for like egg quality, preserving your egg quality, and making sure your body is just maintaining the strength that it needs. And you recommended four different supplements. So I went and I bought them and I'm still on them. But what are some supplements that you would recommend to somebody if they were curious about that?
So interesting about like egg quality is, I mean, one of the things that we want to focus on is like mitochondrial health, right? When we think about like, we are born with all of our eggs.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, when our mothers are in the womb of their mother, our eggs are being formed. Like
Oh,
we spend time in our grandmother's womb,
that's
It's
crazy.
remarkable. It's remarkable. I read there was this poet that wrote this in a really beautiful way. I wish I had it on me, but I was like, wow, that is so profound. So, when we think about generational, like even like generational health and epigenetics, it's like it mattered what was happening with your grandmother when she was pregnant with your mother, because it directly impacts what is going to happen with you. So again, it is actually that individual, right? Where what is good for you? I really look at like the health of each person, and I really do look at like what kind of what their biomarkers are. Um, Overall, we want to work on anything that's going to be helpful for mitochondrial health um, and ovarian health.
Okay.
So things like of course, all the phytonutrients, but like antioxidants and CoQ10 and things that really power the body and power the cells. It really becomes about like creating as much energy and decreasing inflammation and improving the sort of the vibrancy of the body. So, particular supplements are gonna, honestly, they're gonna vary for each person, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Okay, got it, got it. Okay. I know I take the vitamin D, fish oil,
100%.
and the what is it? CoQ10?
CoQ10. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it was Wholesome Story. Do you know that brand Wholesome Story?
Yeah.
It's their supplement, and I take four of them. Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting what it's called. A Mito M.
Inositol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do I say
So
it?
with, yeah, inositol. So myo and inositol.
Okay.
And that for you is very specific for you based on what I know about you. I mean,
Okay.
it is a beautiful general, it is always going to be supportive for ovarian function and the quality of eggs, but it's also very specific for you. I mean, you're also in very good health,
Mm-hmm.
you know. CoQ10 is what really feeds the mitochondria. And there's a lot of other things. I mean, that's the hard thing in today's world is, people want to take a lot of things.
I
And
I know.
my take on that is, have we dialed in all of the lifestyle things? Because
Right.
if you don't sleep, you could take NAD, you could take urolithin A, you could take PEA, like
Yeah.
there's a zillion things, but we have to move well, we have to eat well, we have to sleep well, we have to have people around that love us and that we love. We have to have moments of reflection where our body is not in a state of stress. And
Mm-hmm.
then we layer in some supplements.
Got it, got it. So supplements also complement the acupuncture world in a way, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Probably never have gone to an acupuncture. It's not a lesson. What would it be? A visit? What do you call it?
Yeah, it's a treatment.
Treatment. Yeah. So what can you talk a little bit about acupuncture, what it does and
Yeah.
what it can be for?
So it's interesting because acupuncture is part of this modality of Chinese medicine. And Chinese medicine is, like a five-legged stool. There's, acupuncture, there's herbal medicine, there's food as medicine, there's gua sha, there's meditation and movement like Tai Chi. And the acupuncture piece, we are just energy. I mean, we think of ourselves, we are human beings, but we are literally just vibrations of energy that fit together, and I see you and you see me.
Mhm.
And the body works really well when we have enough of that energy. We use the word chi, but energy. And that we have enough of that. We have blood flow, we have energy flow. It moves through the body unobstructed, and we have good health. And what we see is that lots of things can interrupt that, right? Like we can have like environmental exposure, we can have injuries, we can have accidents, we can have just stress. We all of a sudden have these imbalances, and those imbalances are, I mean, we treat everything from headaches to IBS to back pain to anxiety to autoimmune conditions and everything. And basically, what we're trying to do with acupuncture is restore the balance, the flow, and the abundance of electricity and blood, energy and blood through the body, so that if it moves freely and smoothly, then the body has a better chance to rebalance itself and create homeostasis. And so there's, 3,000 acupuncture points in the body. We don't use all of them at one time, but like we're very, again, it's so personal. Like each person, two people can come in with a stomach ache, and what we're doing with them is very different because the why of what's happening with them is very different. So we do a really in-depth intake so that we can see, where did this come from? When did this start? Is this a deficiency? Is this an excess? How do we help get this body back in balance? And by using very specific acupuncture points, we can then start to restore that balance in the body.
Oh, got it. And how often do you need to go for acupuncture? I'm sure it's different for whatever
Yeah.
someone's going for treatment.
So, depending on if people are coming in for acute things, like they're just really not feeling well at all, we usually start them off at twice a week for a couple of weeks, and then we go down to once a week. As their symptoms get better, we want to see 50% improvement, and then we go down by 50%. I have a lot of patients who I see just on maintenance. I might see them every 3 weeks. I might see them once a month. I see some patients every 2 weeks. When people first start, usually there's something happening. There's some imbalance. There's some process in the body that is bringing them to me. And I will see them more often in the beginning. And then my goal is that everyone gets acupuncture once a month. Like that's my, like
Okay.
everyone in the world, actually. I think it would be a better place. I mean, it's so calming for the body. Like people are like, we call it like acustoned. They're like, I'm so relaxed. I can't, like, is somebody picking me up? It's just such a beautiful, relaxing therapy for people that works really well.
And how long is the session? Like an hour?
Session's an hour from the time you come in to the time you leave. So you come in, people, we talk and catch up, and is there anything happening that's in an acute, right now? Otherwise, we're working on root cause, like, yes, we are treating if you come in with a sprained ankle, but if we've been treating digestion, like we're going to always work on that. And the beauty of acupuncture is one needle, one point can treat 100 different things.
Crazy.
So it's not like you have to go, well, okay, how many things you have going on?
Yeah.
Uh, but and then, so by the time you talk and then the patient lays down, they're on a super comfy bed. I've got a lot of higher dose PEMF mats in my practice. So
Oh,
they're
I
nice
love
on
those
the
PM
nose.
one.
They're so nice. They're really nice. Uh, and then, I put these beautiful infrared heat lamps over people, and usually they fall asleep. And then we come in about, 40 minutes later, and they're like, no,
They
stop.
don't want
I don't
to.
want to move. They don't want to move. I'm like, I know, I'm sorry. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. I need this bed. But it's such a beautiful healing modality.
Yeah, no, I know. I've only done it once when I first moved here. It did hurt a little. Not that I'm not trying to sell it. It hurt a little, but just a little. And then I got over it. And then they put that red light near my head, and I just like dozed off. I remember, and I
Yeah.
remember leaving, and they said you might feel like a little high, like loopy high, and I
Yeah.
think I did.
Yeah, people do. I'm like, okay, have a little water. Let me get you grounded. Like, it's going to be okay.
I remember as a little girl, my nan, well, my grandma, I called her nan. She did acupuncture to stop smoking, and she swears that that's what got her to stop smoking.
Yes.
Crazy.
It is, yeah.
Crazy.
So there is a technique called auricular acupuncture, and it's really how acupuncture first came to this country. It was right after Vietnam War, and a lot of people came back, addicted, a lot of, soldiers and servicemen. And they were using it in Europe and France and Germany. And it's called the NADA protocol, and it's on the ear, and it's 5 points on the ear. And they were having a lot of success with that protocol to help people get off of heroin and drugs or whatever.
Right.
And that is one of the techniques they use to quit smoking. Now, flash forward, it's 2025. They're using, now they don't call it the NADA protocol, and it's actually a device that stimulates the vagus nerve, but it is 5 points on the ear, but you wear this thing, and they're using it for PTSD and trauma and like severe anxiety and severe depression. They're using it for addiction in and there's a brand name, but it's a device that you wear on the ear. But the interesting thing is where it stimulates are the 5 points of the NADA protocol. So, and now it's FDA approved. It's like really, it's been very helpful in treatment of PTSD.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Wow. I know we've been on for a while now, but I could probably talk to you about this is just so interesting to me, this whole world. And I am proud of where the world's going because I think that more and more people are like, okay, I gotta tap into this because this way isn't working. I'm not seeing the results I want doing it this way.
Yeah.
But what would be your recommendation for your favorite foods or herbs for somebody to change their lifestyle? Just to like maybe if they didn't want to go all in, just to try to like get it, get some things in there.
So, it is interesting because like, there's lots of diet dogma, lots of food dogma. Um, what I try to guide my patients is can you get in 7 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables every day? Like the rainbow. And I
Mhm.
give them a little thing. We co-evolved on this earth to eat plants. We just did. Like our microbiome needs them. Those phytonutrients are really important in our body as women because plants have phytoestrogens. Those are really important. We are meant to eat them. And then the other thing that's really important, and again, like I'm much less about taking things away than adding things. Like let's add more nutrition to our diet.
Mhm.
Let's be super mindful about what we're putting in our body. Not don't eat that, which I do. I don't think all food is good. I think there's some bad food.
Yeah.
But I do think that for the most part, if we make our diet super nutrient dense and
Mhm.
our plate is super colorful and we've got lots of those, you know, um, colorful fruits and vegetables, we go a long way in being healthy. And then the other thing is I think protein has been underutilized. I think we got the wrong message about protein and we were not really eating protein. I think especially for women now, there's a big sort of
Very.
spotlight that we need more. I always tell my patients like we can fuel ourselves with carbohydrates, we fuel ourselves with fat. Fat can be protective, but we grow ourselves and repair our tissue and rebuild and rejuvenate with the amino acids and protein. And so I think, the days of having 40 or 50 grams of protein a day are past. We cannot we cannot age well in that aspect. We need more because we need more repair. And those are the two areas that I really try to work with my patients on, making sure that they have protein at every meal. Um, like at least, like my goal would be 30 grams of protein for my women patients at each meal, even though it's probably more. Like we probably need even more. Like
Yeah.
the science is pretty clear, we probably need more. But we're starting from such a low amount,
Yeah.
that I'm just happy if we can get there and then we can add on.
And
And I'm kind of like from a supplement and herb standpoint, I think that most people need some adaptogens because they're just too stressed.
right.
Ashwagandha is a really easy one, but there's others like adaptogen formulas.
What
You're
about
just not,
an adaptogen?
is what?
Or Laura?
Yeah, they're adaptogens.
Okay.
Yeah, there are two flowers that are together, and they're just so good for the adrenals. They help reduce cortisol. Um, Really, you can't go wrong with adaptogens, and they do just that. They adapt to what your body needs, which is why they call them adaptogens. Um, and they're just so beneficial as a herb. I think most people need magnesium, fish oils, vitamin D, and a multi. Um, I mean, those are kind of my like we most of us need them. We're not getting what we really need optimally in our food and in our diet, even when we're trying to do the best we can.
Right. Like even if we're eating the foods that have these in them, we might not be getting what we actually really need.
Yeah. And it's not just about what we eat, it's what we absorb, and when, again, I mean, um, how well we absorb is going to be determined by how calm we are.
Right.
Digestion requires calmness. It requires being settled. I always tell my patients digestion starts in the brain, with a quiet mind, and we start thinking about food, and then next thing you know, your mouth is watering, and your saliva has enzymes, then that signals down to your stomach to make more hydrochloric acid, which signals your gallbladder, which signals your pancreas. And this whole cascade happens when we're calm, when we sit. I mean, people eat in the car. They have I have patients who eat 2 meals a day in the car, breakfast and lunch, you
Because
know,
that's some place, like that's where they
because
feel.
they're driving, they have to go from point A to point
But
B.
they're not calm. That's they're on the go
They're
right.
not calm. They're in the car in Florida
Yeah.
on 95. It's
Yeah.
not calm. It's so not calm. Like we need to eat in quiet. I did a silent meditation retreat, and literally it was a Vipassana meditation retreat, and you couldn't even read. It wasn't like, I mean, I'd find myself like in the bathroom, like reading the shampoo bottle, like just for something. In the beginning, and then I was fine. But like when you ate, like you weren't reading, you weren't watching anything, you weren't on a screen, you weren't talking because it was a silent retreat. And the whole dynamic of eating was so different. Like it was so slow and it was so like nourishing. Like you chewed your food, you
And
know.
after a couple of days, you're probably like, oh, I'm actually appreciating this.
Oh
It's
my
not.
gosh, it was lovely. Yeah, it was really lovely. Yeah. I mean, the first 2 days were funny.
Yeah. I don't know if I could get through it. I don't know if I could sign up
Like
for something like
like
that.
humming. Can you
Yeah.
hum? Can I hum?
Yeah, I don't think I'm ready for something like
Yeah.
that.
I did a course with I did a mindfulness meditation certification. It was a 2-year program, but part of that program was in the beginning, before you started it, you had to have gone through a silent retreat. And I was like, silent retreat. I remember doing one, like going to a yoga retreat, and we were having a silent morning, and I go into the kitchen where the leader, the instructor was, and I was like, good morning. And she's like, I was like,
You don't do that here.
I failed. I meant good morning.
So that would challenge me. That would really challenge. When I did my yoga teacher training, we did an experiment with a blueberry and we had to like observe the blueberry and like we couldn't eat it. And I was like, please just let me eat this. I'm gonna go crazy. And we like observed it and saw all of its textures. Honestly, I've never looked at a blueberry like that ever, and they are kind of interesting to look at. But can we just eat it now? This is taking
Yeah,
too
I'm
long.
gonna die right now if you don't let me eat this blueberry. I know, I know.
Sometimes those mindfulness tools, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is triggering me than it is relaxing me.
It can in our world. It's a lot of work. I mean, it really is.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you so much. This is so valuable. And if somebody wants to connect with you or meet with you, how can they do that?
So my practice is in Delray. It's called Evolve Acupuncture and Wellness, and I'm in Google. You can Google me, and also I have an Instagram, Evolve Delray, and people reach out to me on that. And my Instagram is great. I just try to give like information, helpful information that can help people. So you can reach out to me that way, or call the office.
Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you so much for your time, Dr.
You're
Kim.
welcome. It was such a pleasure. Thank
So
you.
much fun.
Thanks.
Thank you all for tuning in to this week's episode on the Marissa Effect. This is where conversations stick, stories spark something real. If today's episode moved you, made you think, or gave you a little inspo, please share it with a friend. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It truly means the world. Until next time, keep showing up, stay curious, and remember your story has an effect too. See you next week.